Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for two Facebook groups, Fans of Serif Software and Affinity Designer and Photo group. Now this is a beginner's look at channels part 4. Now this part is really just to answer a couple of questions that I've been asked about some things that happened in part 3, and it's just really sort of hopefully clear up those questions. And again, I would just like to stress that I am at this moment in time learning as I go along the use of channels, so I'm hoping that my answers are correct, but from what I've tried so far they do seem to be. I'll be using the same picture that I used in part 3, and the first thing that I was asked was about, the person that asked it was that the composite alpha, they want to know sort of why I was sort of referring to it as a white colour when surely it should be a transparent, and I have sort of written an answer to that person about, you know, it is a solid white, and that Photoshop uses a solid a black, as opposed to, yeah, it has red, green, blue and black. They're just like different names for the same sort of idea. So to sort of try and demonstrate this, what I've done is I've made a spare red, green and blue channel from the composite red, green and blue, and then above this background layer I've made a transparent layer, a layer with solid white and a layer with solid black. So first thing I'll do is I'm going to highlight the transparent layer, so it says transparent red, green, blue in this section here, and then I'll make that visible. And then what I'll do is I'll just right click on the spare red and load to transparent red. Let me just hide this background layer a second. So as you can see, nothing has gone into that transparent layer, and similarly if I do the green, nothing happens, and with the blue nothing happens. So if the layer is transparent, nothing happens. So if I now hide that layer, make the white, solid white pixel layer and make it visible, and I'll just repeat the process and load this to the white red layer, and then load the green to the white green channel, and then load the blue to the white blue channel, and thus it makes up the picture back like it was in the actual picture itself. So this is why Serif are using white, solid white, as the composite alpha channel. So what about using the black like Photoshop does? If I make this black layer now visible and the layer that is selected, and I will do the same thing, I will load this to the black red channel, load the green one to the black green channel, and load the blue one to the black blue channel, and it makes the picture exactly as it did with a white solid background. So I don't fully understand how red, green, blue color channels work, but obviously it doesn't matter whether the original background is black or the alpha channel is black or the alpha channel is white, but it is not transparent. At least that's how it looks to me, and I'm sort of fairly 99% certain that that is correct, but I'm willing to be proved wrong. Right, so that is that question answered. Let me make that hidden, and I'll highlight the actual proper photograph. In fact, what I can do to avoid confusion, I will now delete that, and the white one and the transparent one, so I just have the original photograph. And the next question I was asked was whether these channels only work with red, green and blue colour scheme. So what I did, if I come up to I think document and colour format, as you can see I have mine set on RGB 8-bit. If I change this to CMYK 8-bit, the channels down here change. So now we have, rather than red, green and blue, we have cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and again a composite alpha white. And these are the same there as well. Let me delete these ones. Right. So yes, that you can use red, green, blue, or you can use CMYK. And I'm guessing, I haven't checked this out, I'm guessing if you go to grayscale, it will just be a composite intensity and a white background. So let me go back to the CMYK, and I'm assuming that you could go for the 16-bit and lab. Let's have a look at lab, see whether it changes to lab. Not that I fully understand what lab channels do, but they are there. So colour format, I'll go back to CMYK, and unlike the red, green and blue where there's sort of very marked differences between the reds and greens in certain areas, with these ones they're all sort of fairly bland sort of greys, so it's very hard to work out, whereas the black channel's got really all the black and white in it, whereas all the other, the yellow, magenta and cyan layers are sort of pretty much on this particular picture anyway, sort of an even spread of the colours. But like with the red, green and blue options, you can edit them, make them visible. So for example, if I wanted to make this foreground a bit darker, if I come to the dodge tool, I can just paint on here to make the water and the foreground a bit darker. Like that. I'll leave it at that, and then bring back all the colours. It has sort of ruined it. I'm not 100% certain why it hasn't gone back to being full colour, but with this a bit darker. I've obviously done something wrong there, but you get the idea. I have answered the question about whether you can just use it with the red, green and blue option. If I go back to red, green, blue, and basically hopefully that does answer both of those two questions. Okay, that was going to be the end of the video, and then I remembered that there was a question that I sort of posed myself in the earlier videos, which was about if I turn off the visibility of like the blue and the green, and I'm just left with the red composite and the composite alpha, and I said, you know, that wasn't a bad looking image as it was. I wondered whether you could export it looking like that. Now, as it stands at the moment, I found that it doesn't. It will save it as a RGB full color image. So it got me thinking about what I could do to get to save it in just this red. So let me bring back the colors. If I click on the right click on the background, the named background layer rather than the composite layer, and say the blue, and then you've got three options: the invert, the clear and the fill. Let's have a quick look at the invert, and then I will invert all of these layers. And you have this sort of infrared type image, and as you can see from the icon up here, that has changed to the it's very hard to see, but it has changed to a similar looking image, which means that is how it will export. So let me just press Ctrl and Z 3 times to bring those back. So, and now you can see that that icon there is now looking more like this image here. So again, if I right click, if I just do fill, it will just put a solid, sort of make that a solid blue, and then no, sorry, it should be on the layer channel rather than the composite channel. So I make that a solid green, and then obviously if I make the last one a solid red, it just gives a white image. So I'll just press Ctrl and Z 3 times to go back. So now if I use this last option, which is clear, if I click on clear, it will take away the blue in that channel, and if I put clear in the green channel, I have that red image that I was after, and that red image is also in this icon up here in the background layer, which means I can now export that in this format, in these colors, because it now works as the background layer properly. And just to prove that, I have saved it and I've reloaded it as a different image, and when you reload it, as you can see, looking at the composite and the background, there is nothing in the green and blue channels. There is just the red and alpha channels, which is the same as it would be in the original copy that I have altered. So if I press Ctrl and Z, bring back the green and the blue channels. So answering my question, if I wanted to just have an image of one of the channels, I would need to clear the layer that they are on and not a composite layer. So if you were doing various alterations, you would have to sort of flatten them into the top visible image layer and then work from that layer to separate the colors. I hope that all makes sense. And so that now is the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.